Today on Dr. Phil, a dad accused of faking his own death.
His wife learned the shocking news that he was alive.
I was planning a funeral for him.
His son charged with conspiracy.
You say there was a plan and you were in on it.
Forced into it.
Now, the story.
You made 3 different statements to the police. Which one is true?
Behind the shocking headlines.
This is what America wants to know. Did you help your father fake his death? Let's do it. If we're going to do something here that matters, then we got to deal with the truth.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
If I can help get this family back on track, are you willing to do that?
Ready, 3, take.
This is going to be a changing day in your life. Go, Dr. Phil. Well, it seemed like another devastating and unfortunate headline at first. A man goes for a swim in the Long Island Sound and doesn't come home. His family suspects the worst and calls authorities. A massive search effort is launched and crews scramble to find the body of this husband and father who is believed to have drowned. But things aren't always what they seem, and this tragedy was about to take a shocking twist. Take a look.
Police are searching for signs of a missing man who went for an ocean swim Saturday afternoon.
I think he had a little bit of a heart problem.
Police began the day acknowledging this is now a recovery effort.
Everyone thought the 47-year-old was dead, drowned in Long Island Beach.
I was planning a funeral for him. I lost my husband.
It's just a nightmare that I just can't wake up from.
After days of hoping, fear gave way to acceptance. Their beloved husband and father was gone. That is, until a routine traffic stop in South Carolina revealed something no one was expecting.
A shocking twist in the search for a missing swimmer.
The frantic 5-day search for a Long Island father believed to have been lost at sea.
Turns out he was never missing.
No one actually saw 47-year-old Roth swim, and officials privately questioned the story.
I am angry of what he put the public through, and myself and my family and his family, thinking that he was dead.
Raymond had faked his death and vanished without a trace to Florida. But the question was why. As police investigated, they got their answer and a whole lot more.
Roth had serious financial problems. He lost his job and put his house up for sale.
He emptied out my accounts Friday, Saturday morning, even up to the times when supposedly we think that this poor man is drowning in the water.
But a big question, was Raymond Roth the only person in on the fake drowning plot?
Raymond Roth still has yet to show his face, but it's his son Jonathan Roth who's in trouble with the law now.
Now, prosecutors allege the younger Roth made it all up in order to help his father flee town.
I'm facing 2 felonies and a misdemeanor, conspiracy to commit fraud, and falsifying a police report. I've never tried to cash in on any life insurance.
A lot of people want to talk to Jonathan. Well, he's here today, and for the first time, he's going to reveal the real story behind the shocking headlines. I have some hard questions for him, but first, I want to talk to the man that's representing his father, Raymond. So I want to welcome criminal defense attorney Brian Davis. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Phil.
Listen, first thing I guess we want to know is how is your client doing since he left the psychiatric hospital, and where is he now?
He's living with family. He's undergoing treatment on a daily basis. He seems to be doing better.
Is Raymond going to admit that the idea was his and that his son had nothing to do with it?
Dr. Phil, at this point, he's not admitting anything.
Did he fake his own death?
Well, there's no question that my client left Jones Beach and went to Florida and came back from Florida 5 days later.
What is it that drove him to this, in your opinion? Was he experiencing a mental illness? Was he out of contact with reality?
I wouldn't say out of contact with reality, but certainly a mental illness. I mean, when he was 5, he had a very bad car accident, got hit by a car trick-or-treating, suffered brain damage at that time, and I think it's always affected him his entire life. A lot of his action was just impulsive. He lost his job. The next day he's putting the house up for sale. And then the next thing he's planning to leave, escape. And that's what he was doing, getting away from the bills, from the pressures, from his wife. And like he was going to go there and work at, and this is a quote, at a tiki bar or on a fishing boat.
What is his relationship with his son Jonathan at this stage of the game, as of today?
They haven't been talking since this occurred.
I assume you are aware that there are allegations on Jonathan's part that he, in fact, was abused for a period of time by Raymond.
He denies that he used physical punishment, except for one time in Jonathan's life when he was about 14. The two of them were described as being buddy-buddy. They'd smoke their cigars together. They would drink their beer together. And that it certainly wasn't an abusive relationship at any time.
If he is asked whether or not Jonathan was in on this plan, what will he say?
There were emails sent from my client to Jonathan before this, and Jonathan knew exactly what was going on.
So he was involved.
But nothing to do with insurance, Dr. Phil.
I understand. I get what you're saying. Well, Raymond Roth's son, Jonathan, wasn't the only person affected by his lies. His wife, Ivana, was actually planning a funeral for her husband when she learned the shocking news that he was, in fact, alive. So take a look at this.
Ivana Roth says she was worried sick until Wednesday when she discovered a disturbing chain of emails, allegedly between father and son, detailing plans for Raymond Roth to fake his own death and disappear.
I came across the email account being open. I proceeded to look into the account and find emails that it was a whole plan, that it was not him not drowning, that he was alive. He's a horrible person. He's an alcoholic. He's just an abuser in every which way.
He's not an ogre. He does have psychiatric issues.
They were constantly talking about getting a divorce, but it never happened. It was like empty threats. And they were fighting each other constantly. They were always yelling and screaming at each other. You kind of get numb to it after a while.
Then there was the question of Raymond's son, Jonathan's involvement. The lawyer for the 22-year-old claims Jonathan was abused by his father and forced into going along with the fraud.
John, did your dad force you to do it?
A theory supported by Jonathan's girlfriend, Christy Malin.
He's just scared and he's really upset and he's mad at his dad for throwing him into this, and he really thought his dad had drowned.
Well, Raymond's son, Jonathan, is here today breaking his silence for the first time. He says he went along with his father's plan because he was afraid for his life. So, Jonathan, I appreciate you being here along with your attorney, Joey Jackson. So, chime in if there's something that you feel like we need to know. Jonathan, look, I want to be real clear here. You don't deny that you were involved in this. You acknowledge that A, there was a plan to fake his death, and B, that you were involved in it, but you are saying that you were coerced into being involved in it, and you did it out of fear for your own safety.
Correct.
You participated actively in perpetuating the story that your father had drowned.
Unwillingly.
Right, forced into it.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
And do you live with your father?
Not anymore.
Okay.
But I did, yes.
So you're not supported by your father, and you don't live with your father.
Right.
So if he calls you with some harebrained scheme, can't you just hang up?
No, see, during the time, I did live with him, and I was supported by him. I'm currently, right now, I do not live with him
Okay,
anymore.
how did this happen? So you're sitting there one day eating cornflakes in the morning, and he comes in and says, we're going to fake my death. How did this happen?
No,
How did it come up?
I was in New Jersey at the time,
right,
Dr. Phil. And I came back. I came back from New Jersey, and he sat me down outside. He has a porch outside, and he sat me down and he talked to me outside.
And what did he say?
He discussed with me about what my role was supposed to be, that I had to make sure that everybody knew that he was dead.
Okay, and did you plan how you were going to do that? Did he say, here's what I want you to do? You're going to go to the beach with me?
He actually took me to Field 6, Jones Beach, and he said, this is where we're going to do it. He just pointed out a couple of things. This is how you get here.
And how long was this before it actually took place?
About a week, Dr. Phil.
About a week. Because Brian has described him as being very manicky at times, difficult, nobody could do anything with him and handle him at those times. But you're saying this spanned a week. It sounds to me like it was thoughtful and planful and spanned a week, and manic phases don't typically last that long.
I don't know anything about a manic phase or anything like that.
Was your father unusual? Was he hyper racing around, nervous, jumping, speaking rapidly, changing the subject a lot, jumping around?
No, he was his regular self.
His regular self.
Yeah.
This is what America wants to know. Did you help your father fake his death?
The first time I heard about my father's plan to fake his death was the Saturday before the incident. I was afraid, I was nervous, I was actually shaking a little bit, a little panicky. He told me if I didn't help him, I would die, and anybody who I told about this plan would die as well.
I don't think Raymond told anybody else.
He has 6 rifles, a crossbow, a pistol. I have no doubt that my father would have killed me.
Jonathan Roth was manipulated by his father in every way.
In my mind, Jonathan, he can't be guilty for something that he didn't have a choice in.
It'll be crystal clear who's at fault here. And that man is Raymond Roth.
This is what America wants to know. Did you help your father fake his death?
I was forced into helping him fake his death.
So you say yes, but only because you were coerced. What would happen if you said no?
He said that I would die and anyone I told would also die. So I was very afraid.
So he threatened to kill you.
Right, and anyone else who I told about the scheme.
Okay.
He has a cache of weapons, 6 rifles, a crossbow. He had his pistol taken away from him by the police. So
you thought he might kill you?
I mean, he has, yes.
So this was a week later. Were you ever away from him during the ensuing week?
No.
So he stayed by your side 24/7 from the time he told you until
in
you
the same
precipitated?
relative area. We were in the same house for the whole week.
The question is, why didn't you call the police?
Why
didn't you go to the police?
I live in the same house with him. I was afraid if the police show up, what he could do to me, maybe, I don't know. Deny it, and then the police go away. You can't, the police can't really do anything until an action actually happens, right?
Well, I'm not a criminal attorney,
I don't know either, but
I don't
Doc,
know. Joey, go ahead.
Let me address a few things. First of all, the attorney tries to say that the father had an accident when he was 5 years old. That's nonsense. The reality is the accident may have occurred, but to blame this upon an accident and to blame what the father did on something that happened when he was 5, this case is nothing else but about the abuse, the manipulation, and the coercion of his father, period. And for the lawyer to suggest he knows nothing about it and he was mentally defective and he checked himself in, that's nonsense. And to throw his son under the bus as he has, it's astonishing, and it makes me lose faith in humanity. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was putting up his son to do, and it's unfair, it's inappropriate. And the fact that Jonathan can sit here now and stand here as a man as he has, it's a blessing.
You heard what your father's attorney said.
Yes.
He said there was not an abusive relationship, that you guys were big buds, you drank beer together, you hung out together, and that he had disciplined you a time or two as you were growing up, but other than that there was no abuse here. I'll let Brian speak in a minute, but you heard what he said. What do you say about that?
The fact of the matter is, Dr. Phil, that there was a very abusive relationship. Not only was it physical, but it was verbal and degrading towards me constantly. A constant thing. I'm talking about every day. Not only towards me, but he was hostile towards his own wife. Mm-hmm. He once broke her nose because she was trying to stop him from attacking me.
All right, Brian, what do you want to say about all this?
The broken nose was an accident, according to Ivana. But I got real problems. With what Jonathan is saying here. I think, Dr. Phil, you pointed out, you're talking about a week. They weren't sleeping in the same bed. Jonathan had free rein to leave that house and go wherever he wanted to go. Once he knew his father was on his way down to Florida, why he just didn't do the right thing and not report it at all, or report it and then come clean right away and say, I was forced to do it.
See,
I don't buy the whole story.
This is part of the finger pointing that his attorney wants to do and has done every time he gets an opportunity. He even denies the fact that there's been abuse, and that abuse has been of long standing. Do you deny, Brian, that there's been abuse of his son? It has occurred since he was 10 years old, and it occurred on an ongoing basis. You have to evaluate this in the context of which it occurred. My client was continually beat up by his father. My client was continually belittled, told he would amount to nothing by his father. If you want to finger point your own client, plead him guilty, and let him admit what he coerced and manipulated his son into doing, period.
Well, Joe, I hear a whole different story from my client's family, who did everything they could to help a young boy who came into their family at age 9.
Is helping beating him up? Is helping drinking? Is helping?
Hold on.
Joe, just let me finish.
If you're going to finish, tell the truth. That's what everybody wants to hear is the truth. So if you're going to finish, make statements that are not going to be because you're protecting your client, but are going to be because you know them to be accurate. And you know it to be accurate because we're going to show the records in court of your client drinking and abusing my client on a consistent basis and in breaking what you have to admit, his wife's nose. Okay?
Time out. I've let the lawyers talk. Now you're going to let me talk. I want to talk to you. You've just been sitting here saying, tell the truth. That's what people want to hear.
I am.
So now I'm asking him to tell the truth. That's what people want to hear.
Raymond Roth's attorney says father and son have a close relationship.
They've been described as buddy-buddy. They smoke cigars together. They do their workouts together. They walk together. They drink their beers together.
It was just some sort of plan that they were doing together.
Younger Roth says he's an innocent victim of his father's plot, but police say he confessed, admitting he knew that his father had left the beach to flee to Florida.
What happened the day this all went down? What happened that day?
When everything happened?
The day that he disappeared.
I don't know. Am I allowed to?
No, he can't get into the specific facts as to exactly what occurred that day because obviously he's facing criminal charges.
Well, if he didn't do anything except what he was coerced to do, but you just been sitting here saying, tell the truth. That's what people want to hear.
I am.
So now I'm asking him to tell the truth. That's what people want to hear.
All right. There's a difference. There's a difference, and you have to respect this. Obviously, if somebody's under investigation and somebody's facing criminal charges, the forum upon which they have to speak, you have to be very careful of that.
All right, you made 3 different statements to the police. Which one is true?
I don't remember the statement word for word, but I was admitting that I knew about the scheme and that I was forced into going along with it.
And you don't want to go into the details, but you guys got up that morning, you planned this out. You had planned this out through the week, I assume. We do know he went to the beach and did not come back. He went to Florida. We know that, right?
We do.
Okay. And you then, as a matter of public record, you started notifying what you called the police and said he's gone, he disappeared. You said, I saw him chest high in the water and then I didn't see him after that. That's public record.
Yes.
So you can talk about that, right?
Yeah, and ultimately what he did do after he was arrested is he told the police exactly what happened, which is it didn't happen and that this was all something that his father came to him to talk about.
But the only reason why I told the truth then, Dr. Phil, was because I was in police custody. I was in the safety and security of the police. So I had no more reason to fear my father, who hasn't supported me through this at all.
Well, that's one theory, but the other was that you had been busted and you rolled over on your co-conspirator.
Well, you can say that if you want to, Dr. Phil, but...
Well, I'm just asking. I mean, that's, you're going to be asked these things, right?
No, right.
I mean, you know, I'm not asking anything you're not going to be asked.
Right. There's been a history of abuse. We have it on record. CPS was notified about the abuse.
Child Protective Services.
Right.
And this is what bothers me from a psychological standpoint. You allow your stepmother to be devastated and plan his funeral.
First, there was no funeral ever being planned.
You let him believe he was dead. Take funeral off the table. You let him believe he was dead. Does that bother you?
Absolutely
does.
That
you let these people, because I just think if somebody came and told me that a family member of mine was dead, I mean, I'd be devastated.
You're absolutely right, and it does bother me a lot. But you have to understand, I had no other choice. I would have died otherwise. He would have killed me, Dr. Phil, if I didn't do what he was telling me.
Were you worried that you were incurring tens of thousands of dollars or more in search and rescue fees? And
I was more worried for my life. My father would beat me every other weekend, sometimes every weekend, because I was acting out in school or he was drunk. Anything would set him off. It didn't really matter. He always was able to find an excuse.
I was at Jonathan's house almost every day when he lived there. His father was constantly putting him down. He was always yelling, like screaming at him. You're not going to amount to anything. You were an accident. You never should have been born.
He's actually told me a few times, even if we did fight and I won, I would have to fall asleep sometime. And he said that when I did fall asleep, he would wrap a garden hose around my neck and kill me.
Now, at 10:19 that morning, you get an email. The subject line says, help. You will need to help me get my car loaded. Get your blank ass out of bed, you lazy bastard. You got that from your father?
Yes.
Did he talk to you like that all the time?
Every day. Every minute of every day. He would never talk to me. It was more of him talking at me, you know, demanding from me.
You got another email, same day, actually a little earlier. Subject line, business. Jonathan, there needs to be a way for me to find out how things are going. Call me Sunday night at 8 p.m. at the resort, gives a number. You cannot call from your phone. Go to a payphone or borrow your friend's phone. You must call within 15 minutes of the determined call time in order to be sure I will be available. That sounds pretty planful.
Right.
A few minutes later, subject line, going the distance. Hey, number one, today, do not forget to get that ball from your friend. I need to get to the bank for cash for a trip. About the jewelry we spoke of yesterday, you need to whisper in Aunt Jackie's ear about it, and do not worry, she will get it. Lawyers, be sure to get Uncle Bob to follow up and continue the battle. House, do not allow that blank to give the house away. Uncle Bob's papers, tell Uncle Bob I handed you the lawyer papers and you just noticed that there was an envelope with Uncle Bob's name on it. The last will and testament, then hand it to him. All of the paperwork. This is really worked out in detail.
But who's it coming from?
It looks to me like it's coming from his father.
Okay.
Did you get the email?
I did receive the emails.
So you got the 3 emails?
Yes.
But you didn't respond to them?
Correct.
Because at one point you denied getting the emails, right?
Right.
But you did get them?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Did you respond?
No, Dr. Phil.
Okay, and you can't say what you did.
Right.
Have you talked to your stepmother?
No, I haven't.
Since this happened?
No.
Have you apologized in writing or anything for putting her through this?
No, I've tried to get in contact with her. I have clothing and other articles there of mine, but I can never get in contact.
But
I don't think she wants to talk to me.
What would you say to her?
I mean, I would apologize, Dr. Phil. I am very sorry that all of this has happened.
Your stepmother has said that she's afraid of you. Why would she say that?
Afraid of me, Dr. Phil?
Yes.
I've never, not once, threatened her. I've never even raised my voice to her, Dr. Phil. So to be afraid of me, I don't know. I really can't answer that question.
All right. What's going to happen next? Is this going to go to trial?
So there won't be a trial unless there needs to be. The trial is the answer.
But your client is cooperating with the authorities.
Whatever it is that they need, I'm responding to, and we'll continue to have a dialogue with them to see what happens in the case.
What they want is connect this to the insurance fraud, right?
I think what they want to know is who the mastermind behind this was, how this all came about, how my client got involved in this, what happened with those emails. I think they really want to find the responsible and culpable party here.
Any final comment?
The final comment is that, Brian, I think what you need to do is you need to plead your client guilty. You should stop telling your client to put mine under the bus to save his life. That's what got him in this problem in the first place.
Joey, your client put himself under the bus. You're going to cooperate with the district attorney, give testimony against my client, and I'll be cross-examining your client probably about 6 months from now when we go to trial.
Well, that's not entirely true. What we're going to do is what I'm asking you to do is to tell the truth. It's very helpful sometimes to the public and to juries to tell the truth.
You get your side. You get your side of the truth. I get my side of the truth.
And we'll see which side prevails.
The real truth will come out at trial.
We're going to keep a very close eye on this situation. Brian Davis, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Dr.
Jonathan, thank you. Joey.
Thank you, Dr.
We'll like you to keep us posted on everything that's going on. All right?
Jennifer despises me.
My mom abused us. If I were to find out my mom had passed away, I would on her grave.
Jennifer says the sound of her mother's name makes her physically ill. So this makes her sick. She refuses to ever repair their relationship. In fact, she told producers, if Dr. Phil asks me to forgive my mother, I will not speak to him. Here's Jennifer's version of what happened in her childhood.
When my sister and I were kids, my mom would hit us with belts, extension cords, whatever was at her reach at that time. My mom abused us. I would take the spanking for my sister all the time. My mom has made me feel like the scum of the earth. What angers me about my mom, it's her mouth. She doesn't know when to shut it. If I could pick and choose what kind of abuse I would take from my mom, I would let her beat me all day long. But for her to say some of the things she said, my mom told us that my dad didn't love us. I'd rather be hit than be told my dad doesn't love me. My mom's just mean. I hate her. My mom is a huge manipulator. She tried to keep my son from me. My mom got guardianship of my son in 2003. For insurance reasons only, let me make that clear. Since then, we have been in and out of court with my mom trying to have them give me my son back. And my mom tried to file a false CPS report against us that we sell meth out of my home, that we're on drugs. My mom has sent me text messages that if I didn't stop the court fight, she would make my son hate me. If I were to find out my mom had passed away, I would do jumping jacks on her grave.
Well, Jennifer's mother, Luce, claims that she's done nothing wrong and actually points the finger at Jennifer for being the abusive one.
When my girls were growing up, I was the disciplinarian. I didn't use excessive force. Since the time that Jennifer turned 13, the relationship became strained and has remained strained to this day. Jennifer despises me. She slugged me in the ear and busted my ear open. The school advisors told me, if you don't get a handle on that child now, she could possibly end up killing you. She threatened to kill me in front of a deputy. They handcuffed her, took her to juvenile hall. It's going on a year since I've last had a civil conversation with Jennifer. And whatever conversation we have had has been mediated with a judge or an attorney. I didn't do anything to Jennifer to warrant the hatred and the venom that she spews towards me. I don't think I deserve that.
So, what's the problem here?
I just hate her.
You say you hate her more than you've ever hated anyone in your life.
Yeah.
Okay, what did she do with your son?
I gave my mom guardianship in 2003 of my son for insurance reasons.
Meaning?
So he can be covered under her health insurance.
Okay.
Because I was stupid, got married, lost my health insurance under my mom, and in order for my son to stay on health insurance, she said he needed to be hers, well, guardian.
This was a paper transaction that did not affect the parent-child relationship other than on paper.
Right.
Then you wanted to undo this.
Every time I would ask for my son back, or it was, you live in a 2-bedroom, your car's not big enough.
So what you're saying is once she got him on paper,
she took him. She ran with it.
Then she said, okay, now you don't get him back.
No. It was her way to control me.
Okay, is that what happened? Have you denied her right to take back control of her son?
I didn't deny her anything. It was part of the guardianship that when Jennifer was ready to take Michael back, that she needed to be able to have a job, be able to insure him, and be able to take full responsibility of him back.
Did you tell her that if she didn't stop these court actions to try to get him back, that you would turn her son against her?
No, I did not tell her that.
So what is going on here? Who has control of the son now?
Me.
She does.
And how do you feel about that?
I'm okay with that. I have issues, or because he hasn't called me since he left.
She says from the time she was 7 or 8 years old, you have made her feel like, quote, the scum of the earth, close quotes.
She would have to give me an example, Dr. Phil. I have 2 daughters, fed, clothed, taken care of, nurtured, loved, disciplined, and they're opposite of each other.
Did you beat these children?
No, I didn't.
Did you beat her?
No, I did not.
Did you beat her with a belt or?
I used a belt I can't exactly tell you how many times, but I did use a belt when they were little.
So how did she make you feel like scum of the earth?
My sister always gets everything. Like I understand I'm different from my sister. My sister's more proper, prissy. Like my mom says jump, she says how high. I'm not gonna jump for her. That's why she doesn't like me. I think my sister should be out here. My sister's the one who wrote the show. I didn't want to come on here.
Why are you here?
Because I wait every day for somebody to call and tell me that my mom's gone. And I don't want to feel that way anymore. I don't want to forgive her. I don't want a relationship with her. But if I do get that phone call that my mom has passed away, I don't want to on her grave. I don't want to feel like that. I want to be able to say, okay, my mom's gone. I don't want to be jumping for joy, but I feel that way. You make me feel that way.
Luce isn't the only family member that Jennifer has turned her back on. We're going to find out why she's blocked her sister's number from her phone as well. We'll be right back.
You are spiteful, you are hateful, and you are mean. I am done.
Well, Jennifer says she's fed up with her sister Ruth taking her mother's side, and so she hasn't spoken to her in 4 months. Take a look.
My family is in pieces. We don't see one another, don't speak to one another. My sister always takes my mom's side. We went out to dinner. I let her know I called CPS on mom. My sister was itching to get out of that restaurant so she can get on the phone with my mom. That just goes to show how my sister and my mom, they work together. Jennifer feels that I betrayed her. She cut off all contact. I love my sister. I miss her a lot. My sister's a crybaby.
Okay. You guys haven't talked for 4 months?
No, I haven't talked to my sister since we sat and I told her I called CPS on my mom. I invite you to my graduation. I invite her to my graduation. You know what they did? They sent my graduation invitation back. Returned to sender.
Do you know why? That's what you wanted. Your graduation was in June. You're sitting here telling him you want nothing from us. That conversation happened May 9th.
Okay,
I don't want
that.
anything from you. And then you're going to turn around and send a graduation card?
Because my
you don't want us in your
let me tell you
life.
what my thought process is. No matter how much I hate her or hate you or hate anybody, every parent deserves to either watch their kid get married, go to their graduations, do whatever. She didn't have to come and give me a hug. She could have sat in the back. I gave her that opportunity, no matter how mad I am at her. That's why that got sent to you guys.
And you
because
know what
you
every
both
parent else
deserved
deserves?
it.
No parent deserves to be disrespected the way that you've
And
constantly
no daughter deserves to be disrespected.
Mom, throughout the years.
Absolutely.
You are spiteful, you are hateful, and you are mean. And this is your last
So is
hurrah
she.
to come on national television, not looking to be repaired. That's what I wrote to you, to help them. I don't care one way or another. I want to help them. I don't want you to pass away and her regret not saying something to you.
But that's
or
okay
for
to
her
me.
to pass away and you go and on her grave. As if I would even let you know where she was at.
I wouldn't
You
want
are
to know.
mean. Mom deserves to know what she did to you when you were 7 or 8.
How do you write a letter to Dr. Phil and still act like an up until Tuesday when Dr. Phil calls and says, can you come to the show? And now all of a sudden you want to fix stuff.
Who is acting like anything? We haven't spoken.
You
I
sat
can't
with her
act like anything
every
if I don't
month
see
that
you.
we went to court.
Okay, everybody stop. One thing that I know is that when somebody is gone, they're gone for a long time. You should never let the sun set another time without saying or doing the things that you need to say and do, whatever they may be. If something did happen to her and you were left with that bitterness and resentment, that you would have to live with it the rest of your life, because you don't get a do-over.
Right.
And you feel like you have been betrayed to the ultimate degree. And it's like, oh my God, how do you ever trust somebody that tried to steal your child?
Dr. Phil, nobody tried to steal Michael.
I understand. If somebody tried to kidnap your child from the yard and you caught him, how would you feel about that person? It's like, let's figure how many different ways we can beat this guy to death. I mean, that's how you would feel, right? And her perception is that there has been a protracted strategy of alienation of your son from you. True?
True.
If that's what she believes, would you expect her to feel any other way?
No, she's entitled to her feelings.
Well, and wouldn't you feel that way if you believe that in fact was done to you?
Yes.
And you would too. I mean, anybody would. Do you have your son back?
Yes.
And he is with you, and you love him,
Very much.
and he loves you.
Very much.
And so that is intact, right? And you're just saying, yeah, it's intact in spite of what she did, right? You survived it. You got through it.
It was the fight of my life.
It was the
but I
fight
did
of
it.
your life. You feel like the one you shouldn't have had to fight.
I shouldn't have.
Let me tell you the problem with this, just so you know. And you're not going to like this, and that's okay.
Okay.
And you're going to deny some of it, but you're wrong.
Do you have any Kleenex?
Pardon me?
Kleenex?
I don't have a Kleenex, but
Oh, I'll take that.
you give her that one back.
I asked for one of these.
She's going to dance on your grave. I don't want her sharing your snot. Okay? Here's what I'm saying in all seriousness. When you feel the way you feel towards your mother, it changes who you are in every relationship you have. Your son doesn't get all of who you are. Your sister doesn't get all who you are. Your friends don't get all of who you are. And you don't get all of who you are. It's really contradictory because the person you say you want the least to do with, you are investing the most power in.
I don't want to do that
She
anymore.
has the power to change your life. Why give her that power if you feel so badly about her? You've got to take your power back. Every situation needs a hero. Let it be you. Believe me when I tell you that there is your version of what happened, there's her version of what happened, there's her version of what happened, and then there's what really happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all seen through filters. You see it through a defensive filter. I mean, you're ready, because you're going to fight them off, right?
I'm always defensive.
And she sees it through, she's the ultimate matriarch here. She's going to protect everybody.
She doesn't protect me.
Well, I understand. That's your perception. So that's your reality. But you're a peacemaker, right? You want everybody to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
True? What do you want to say?
She says I don't protect her, but yet I've been the one that's always been there when she's been down and needed a hand up, without any reservation, without any stipulation, and unconditionally. Whether she hit me, she yelled at me, she called me out of my name, whatever it was, I've always been there for her. And I love her, but I don't like who she is.
I want completely out.
Well, if you're still angry and bitter every day, then you haven't let it go.
I don't want to hate my mom.
Is it a goal to find a way for the three of you, forget everybody else, for the three of you to find some peace in your life and relationship? Is that a goal?
It's a goal for me.
Yes.
Okay. Would you want that?
No.
So you want nothing to do with them? So you want out?
I want completely out.
Okay. Then that means you're going to withdraw your feelings, right? You don't have to, if you really want out, then it means you have no unfinished emotional business. You can let it go. You can give yourself permission to be peaceful. If you're still angry and bitter every day, then you haven't let it go.
I don't want to hate my mom.
Okay, so you do want what I'm saying. You said you don't, but you do.
I do. And I'm sorry that I'm hurting my mom.
Okay. Then, because there is a way to work through this. And I will guide this. I will get you guys some help to do this. But if you don't have the goal, then you'll never get there. We have to stop for today. But I'm going to bring these folks some help. We'll be right back. Extended family. Well, I want to thank all of my guests today. You can go to drphil.com. We're going to have more information about everything we were talking about there. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. We have some great conversations on there about what happened on the show today. And a lot of times I pop right in on those conversations, so maybe I'll see you there. Thanks for being here today. So long.